Hello friends, welcome back to another exciting course on asynchronous communication between microservices in .NET 8 using Apache Kafka. In today's world of scalable distributed systems, microservices are everywhere. But how do these services efficiently communicate with each other without causing bottlenecks or breaking under heavy loads? That is where asynchronous messaging comes in. And in this course, we will focus on using Apache Kafka to handle communication across microservices. Maybe you might be thinking, or you might be asking yourself, why do I have to use Apache Kafka? Well, let me clear the doubt. Imagine you are building a robust e-commerce platform where orders need to be processed, payment verified, inventory updated, and notifications sent, all by different microservices. You wouldn't want these services to block each other, waiting for responses, isn't it? With asynchronous messaging, each service can send and receive messages without waiting, ensuring high availability and responsiveness. Here is where Apache Kafka shines. It is not just a messaging broker. It is a distributed streaming platform. With Kafka, messages are written into a log, and each service or each microservice can consume the data at its own pace, making Kafka perfect for event-driven architectures. It helps handle large volumes of real-time data while ensuring reliability and fault tolerance. Now that this is cleared, I'm sure you might be also wondering on, isn't RabbitMQ also a messaging broker? Then if so, I've watched a Netcode-Hub video on messaging broker using RabbitMQ. So why should I also watch, or why should I learn how to use Apache Kafka? Well, if you are thinking that, then let me also clear the doubt that you have. RabbitMQ is like a courier service. You send a package that is a message, and the courier ensures it gets delivered to the recipient. If the recipient isn't available, RabbitMQ will retry and ensure that the message is received by the receiver once and only once. After that, the queue gets lost. This is great for systems where you need a reliable point-to-point messaging with features like acknowledgement and queuing. But on the other hand, let's come to Apache. Now, Apache Kafka is more like a public announcement system. In this, messages or events are published to a topic, and multiple people or multiple microservices can listen to it. The key difference here is Kafka keeps the messages for a long time, allowing microservices to read the messages at their own pace. In Kafka, you can also reread the message again. Kafka is ideal for scenarios where you need to handle high throughput data streams and real-time analytics, all while maintaining durability. Earlier on, I made mention of Kafka as a streaming platform. Let me throw more light on that so you understand that properly. In the context of Apache Kafka, streaming refers to the continuous flow of data generated in real time from various sources. It could be databases, it could be applications, it could be sensors, or even user activity on an application. And these data generated are delivered to multiple consumers for processing and analysis. So within this, Kafka handles this large volume of real-time data by breaking it into streams of events or messages, which are consumed and processed incrementally as the data flows in. So I know you're asking yourself, when do you have to use each? Talking about the RabbitMQ and the Apache Kafka. RabbitMQ, it is perfect for traditional messaging brokering, where you need guaranteed delivery and complex routing logic. Now, when you go to the Apache Kafka, it is your go-to when you need to stream large volume of real-time data, ensuring scalability or support multiple consumers reading the same data synchronously. If you want to keep the data in there and I reread it, then you can go in for Kafka instead of RabbitMQ. So now that you have the basic knowledge of Kafka, let's go in there and now see how we can implement this Kafka in our project. I have been using these use cases in all the microservices that I do. Here I'm going to talk about e-commerce, and here we're going to deal with product API and another API. This is what you're going to be doing. Product API is going to be adding product to its service. Now we're going to publish the product being added to the product data, and another API will be listening for that. As soon as a product is being added to the API, other API are going to get a copy of it. Since it has subscribed, it can consume this data in the Kafka. Then it will keep it. So we need not to, anytime that you want to make a call and then get product information from the other API, we don't need to be calling the product API for the information, because you have it already. So we can rely on the API, other API, and extract the information that we need. That is what we're going to be doing in here with the help of Apache Kafka. So let's jump right into it. Make sure you have your Visual Studio 2022 or higher installed. Now we're going to create a solution. We're going to add 3 projects. 2 are going to be an APIs. Then we're going to have a C# class library, which is going to be used as a shared library for the 2 projects. Let's get going. So launch a Visual Studio as I've launched mine. Now let's create a project in here. So I'm just going to create a blank solution. Give it a name as usual. I'll just start with demo, and I'm going to say microservices, maybe with Apache Kafka. So choose a location for the project. After you're done with that, click on create to get the solution created. Now that the solution is created, let's go in there and add these 3 projects. So go to Solution Explorer. Now right click on this solution name. Let's add a new project. Now with this project, this is going to be, we can choose C# class library. This is going to be a shared project. So let's give it a name, any name at all that you can give it. Go ahead. That is it. So you can see it has been added. Let's add the next project. This time around, it is no more C# class library. We're going for maybe API. We can go for empty project for the consumer, but well, let's use this API since both are going to have the same swagger, so we can have access to the endpoint. So let's say this is product API. Let's add other API. So now that we have this project in here, let's go ahead, rebuild this solution. Build succeeded. Let's go and install our packages. We need just a package for each, talking about the APIs, and that is on Kafka. So we can talk about just type in Kafka, and you're going to have access to the confluent.kafka, this package. So install this to the other API, and that's going to be basically the consumer. And you're going to have access to the product API also as publisher or producer. So right click on the dependencies. Let's add the same package. Browse tab and Kafka again. You can just copy the project package references and paste it in there. But well, you can also go ahead and install it directly as I am doing. So now we have these packages. We can go ahead and rebuild the solution, making sure that everything is set and done and ready for receive code. So let's wait. So now that we have the project being built successfully, the next thing that we're going to be doing here is we need to make sure our Apache Kafka is running in a Docker Compose file. So make sure you have your Docker desktop application installed. Currently I have mine installed and it is running with no issue. If you haven't, or if you don't know how to make this happen, just put up your browser and we're going to download this Docker desktop. All that you need to do is to type in this URL, taking you to Docker. So here, let me accept everything. So with this, if I go to Docker desktop, the URL becomes short. So https://docs.docker.com and now /desktop. So you can have access to this and download based on your operating system. So you can see from here we have Mac, Windows, and Linux. I'm using Windows, so I have to download this. I've done that, and that is what you see here. It's running. So when you're done, just follow the prompt to get this package installed beautifully. Great. So as you have this, make sure you have it start and you have your engine running. Forget about this Kubernetes. Let's make sure the engine is running. When it is running, then that's a green light. You can proceed. Okay, so the next to do here is we need to create a Docker Compose file, and in there we're going to specify our images that we need in this Apache Kafka configuration to make it run in this Docker desktop application. So the current version of I think that version 3, but well, when you go to the GitHub repo for this confluent.kafka, it has an intense configuration setup in there for version 2, and I tried with that and it worked. So it means you can try that, but maybe in case you want to update it, there's a current version that you can get it. I'll try and get the link and I'll put in the video description if you want to get the current version for that. So that's what you're going to be doing. Let's also access it because it's a lot. We cannot be typing this, so we're going there to grab it straight ahead from the GitHub content. So the same place, and that is a link. So check the video description. I'll put the link in there. So there is a link if you want to type it well, or check the video description to get the link, and I click on it and I'm going to access this. So let's grab it because it is in the version 2. Never mind, although this is obsolete, it's going to work. let's grab that. Okay, so let's copy everything. You see it's lengthy, so let's make sure you copy everything here. Then let's minimize it. Let's go to our solution. So any of the project, it could be the API, the other API, it could also be the product API. Let's right click on any of them and I'll click on add new item. We're going to create a YAML file, which we're going to name it as Docker Desktop. So did I say Docker Desktop? Yes, Docker Compose. So select this YAML file, and here the name going to be Docker Compose. So click on it, and in here let's paste what we have. You can see, yeah, it's too much. Okay, so we have it in the version 2 formats, and that is it. Let's go through, I think, some of them as to know what it's going to do. We are having the version, and this is the version that you've seen in here. It's a version. Can you have version 3 or so? But yeah, I have a version 2. It's going to work. Never mind. So here we have, I think, 9 services. This is the first service, second service, third service, fourth service, fifth service, sixth service, seventh service, eighth service, and ninth service. Right. Now let's understand actually what each service is going to do in this file. So this Docker Compose file that we have created, and I pasted this setup from the link that we clicked on. It actually set up a Confluent Kafka ecosystem, which includes a Zookeeper, Kafka Broker, Schema, Registry, Kafka Connect, Control Center, Kafka SQL DB, and other supporting services. There are basically 9 main services that help manage and monitor Kafka cluster, and that is what we have closed them in here. So let's first talk about this Zookeeper. What is the Zookeeper going to do? This service manages Kafka configuration, brokers, and leader election. It is a centralized service for maintaining configuration information, naming, providing distribution synchronization, and providing group services. Kafka uses Zookeeper for managing and coordinating brokers and topic. So that is the center, that is the core, right? So you cannot start without this Zookeeper. And currently we have, I think, the version of 7.0 and but I don't know. We can use the 6.1.1, although it is old, but it's still going to work for this our learning purpose. Okay, so that is it for this service. Now the next service that I'm going to talk about here is, let's open it, that is a broker service. This service handles message streams between producers and consumers. So as you can see, we have created 2 APIs, other API and our product API. Product API is basically the producer, and our other API is basically what? The consumer. So it is this broker that's going to handle the stream of messages between these 2 services. Also, Kafka broker, it is a core for Kafka. So it receives and stores records from producers and sells records to consumers. As you can see, it regulates data between the producer and consumer. It coordinates with Zookeeper to manage metadata and partitions as well. So as you can see, the broker works with the Zookeeper to maintain this. So let's see the next service. Open this, and now we have the schema registry. You know, in Kafka, there are settings that the Kafka needs to validate within, and here schema registry is responsible for that. So this stores and averages schemas for data validations and Kafka topics. You know, we're going to be creating topics, and that is what topics here looks like queue in RabbitMQ. If you've watched my video in that, you've seen we created a queue, and it looks like that. That is a transmission. Let me say it's a channel that you're going to subscribe to. Communication can happen on. So this schema provides some data validations against that topic. And it also provides a centralized repository for managing and validating schemas for the Avro, JSON, and protobuf format. These formats are used internally in Kafka. So normally we didn't know to know about this, but while we can go beyond and try to understand more. But for now, let's keep this to this limit. So that's what the schema is. So you know, within the Kafka, there's a transmission, or there's a data that moves between the Kafka and other systems. And the next one is the Kafka Connect service. This connector moves data between Kafka and other services. So you need to also install this package. Now you see all services, each service has its own image that we need to download. So as you can see, it has been defined there under image. So we have this Kafka service, and we have the other one as control center. That is where mostly you and I are going to access it. It is a web UI that monitors and manages the Kafka ecosystem. So that is how we can create our topic. We can manage and see the incoming topic and etc. subscription and the number of incoming data under each topic. We can see all this information under that. So let's say this is a UI that you and I are going to access to see the performance of our service. So you know, as indicated earlier on, logs or data transmitted over Kafka is being stored. Since it's a stream platform, it's being stored in a database. Now this database, there's a command line to this database that you can interact with it, and that is a Kafka SQL DB. So it's also a service that you need to install with its own image. So this makes sure that you can interact with the Kafka SQL database. So that's the command line. We have the command line, we have the SQL server. So that's the server, and we have the command line at next. So this is also the command line. And you know what the SQL server is going to do? It's going to keep the data as a database, and this is going to be using to access it. Now let's see the next one. That is a SQL data gen. This image is basically used to generate sample data tests for the Kafka SQL DB. It populates Kafka topics with sample data, which is used for testing and for development. So that is what the gen or generator is also used for. And last but not least, that is a REST proxy. So there is a REST proxy for accessing Kafka topic over the HTTP. Now this service allows you to interact with the Kafka using an HTTP request, such as post, get, and the other verbs as well. And it provides a way to produce and consume messages without needing Kafka client. So that is what this proxy is also about. It enables you to interact using an HTTP verbs to the endpoint of Kafka. All right, so these are the 9 services. We couldn't go detailed on each, but at least we've seen what each does, right? That's what we need. All right, so now that we have this, all that we need to do here is we need to run this application, run this Docker file to get all 9 images downloaded and get them run. So save this and open your package manager console, and let's get into that. So type in, but before that, we want to move this file to the solution root. So right click on this Docker compose file, then go to open containing folder. So that is this one, and let's move this Docker file to the solution, and I'll paste it here. All right, so we can now go ahead to this, but normally I prefer we use terminal. So let's get into terminal. I have one open already, and with this let me just grab the name of this, and that is cd. Then let me open this folder, then ls. You see we have this Docker compose file. So what we're going to do here is type in this docker-compose, then up. So that's what we need to do to get this run. So let's wait and see. Now if you haven't installed these packages or these images already, it's going to pull all these 9 images from the Docker-Hub. So relax, and after it is done, you can see it's going to follow what you're seeing here. It's going to get the instance created, and it's going to run each of them. Now after successful running, we're going to access this from a default port, that is a control center. So you see from our Docker file, we made mention of the control center, which is a UI to our Kafka. So we can access that. We're going to expose a default port of 9021, and that is where we can access this UI from. With this, when this is done, we can see it. So don't need to keep this in your head. We can see that from the Docker container. So that is the project in here. If I click on this, it's going to open, and I can see from here I have the Zookeeper. These are all the 9 services open, and there's a console still running. Never mind. All that we need to do here is we want to check for our the UI. That's the control center, and I can see it is running a port of 9021. So that's why you want to access it. Let's say put our browser and check up if it is active. So that's a local host. So localhost, and that is 909021. Let's see if it is done. It isn't, so we wait patiently for that. It takes some time to run this. So let's wait. Can put it here. So now that we've seen everything is working here, you can see all these 9 services are running. Let's go ahead and access this from the UI. That is a control center. So that is a 9021/clusters. Then you're gonna have access to. So this is our UI that we have in the Kafka UI. Currently we have one unhealthy. Let's reload this. Okay, so it has changed to healthy. All right, so this is working. Now when we click on this, we have the next information here. As you can see, these are the services that we installed. Our broadcasts, we have our topics. Mostly this is where we want to focus on our topics. Currently we have a default topics. We don't have anyone, And in order for us to create one, you can manually create it here, or you can do that programmatically. So we're going to be doing that. And now it is the duty of the publisher to create a topic. Then the consumer just have to subscribe to this topic and now consume the data as soon as data is passed on through that channel. So let's say now we have this set. Let's go back. Then we can close our Docker Compose file, and there's a class in here. So first, let's modify this class as product. So within this is what we need. We want to have an ID of a product that you're going to add. We have an ID. We have been doing this over and over again, so I believe you know this already. We have our string, and this is going to be the product name for sure. The next one that we need, it is a price. So let's make it as decimal, and that is a product price. You cannot have a product without price, isn't it? So let's give it a price. Okay. Now, we're not going to implement database here. We have been doing that over and over again. So with this, I want to change this a little bit. We're going to have a static method, which is going to be, assuming it's connected to database, you're going to hard-coded and store the data in that file. So within that, in our product API, let's go and create our folder. We're going to name this as maybe product services. Well, we can give it any name that you want. So this is a product services. Now with this product services folder that we have, let's go in and create a class, maybe an interface match set. So we can choose an item interface. Okay, so that's the interface, and in here I'm going to say there's an iProduct service. So iProduct service. In this, let's have only two methods. The first method is a yaw task, and that is an add product. Now with this product, we want to pass in the product that we created, but we have to add the project like C# library to this as a project reference. In case it doesn't pop up here, it means we have to do that manually. Yes, it is here, so we can add reference to it. So we have our product. Then let's say this is product of an object name. The next one is, maybe we can have delete. So all this, as soon as you perform an action here, it has to reflect in the subscriber endpoint. That is an other API. So delete product. And here we need to pass in an ID. Basically, that is a product ID. And I believe that is what you have to do if you want to delete anything within an interface. Now let's come here and create our. So let's say this is our product service implementation. So product service. And this inheriting from the iProduct service interface that we created on top here. We can click on Ctrl+dot to implement the interface in here. So now that we have this, let's have maybe it could be a public, this could be a private. Let's make it as private. This is a list, and you're talking about products. We're not going to provide database, so we're going to say this is our inbuilt database, right? So go to new array. So once you have this initialized, you can go ahead and now add something to this. So this is what we're going to be doing. Let's say as soon as this comes in, we're going to say product.add, and this is quite simple. Add the product. After we are done with the product, we want to publish it. So how do we publish it? We need to convert it into string so we can put it out there, okay, for any service to subscribe or who are subscribed to consume it. So in order to do that, let's provide in an interface here, let's pass in an iPublish. This iPublish should come from the package that we installed. That's a Confluent.Kafka. So this should be producer because this is a producer. So iProducer, and now this producer takes in a dictionary. It takes in the null for. Let's put in null for the key because we are not actually much interested or concerned with the key. We don't want to retrieve a value based on the key. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and specify the key here. Now when you do that, anytime a service or a response comes in, you can now go and check if that key is what you need. Then you can go ahead and consume it. But we're going to consume anything at all that we're going to come as soon as we have subscribed. Anything at all, get it done. Swallow it and let's move on. So we have in there, and our sense we're going to pass in our data value should be in a string. So even as a model, we're going to convert it into string using the JSON serializer. Then we can also do that to .NET object using this serialized endpoint. Great. So we have this. Let's say this is producer. So we have injected that. Now let's copy this producer object that we have created, and in here, after we add this project, we're going to say that we want to use an await producing so we can have a response to check if everything is all right. But in case there's an issue, we can revert what we've done. So you can also use the produce straight ahead, which has no return type, is void, but it's advisable that we can check the output and know whether the operation was successful or not. So we have a var results. Let's say these are results, and in that we're going to say await the producer object that we have created dot. We can have produce and produce async as explained earlier on. Let's use this since it has a task to return. In that, create a topic. You see, so that's why you have to create a topic. So in RabbitMQ, it is create queue name, right? So you have to provide a queue name. But here you're going to provide a topic. So I'm going to say there's an add product because we're going to add product. Then for me to know, for you to know, for us to know that's a topic, let's add a topic to it. All right, so the next thing here is let's provide a message which takes in a dictionary. So this message takes in, that is a null, because we provided it as null, and it should be a string as a value. And in that, let's keep the key, let's keep the headers, let's provide only the value. Now this value is going to be JSON serializer, since it needs a string. JSON serializer dot serialize this. After we are adding, go ahead and serialize this product into a string, and I'll pass it on in here, publish it, and now let's go away. Now we can check. So we're going to say that if results coming in here from the after publishing dot status. Now this status has a set of options that we can choose. But with this, we're going to say that if status here is not equal to, we have a persistent meaning status. Persistent means if it is message was written to the log and acknowledged by the broker. Okay, so that is a broker service. If it has been received it and no issue, then this is going to be persisted. But in case there's an issue, that's where the others are going to come. So let's say if persisted. Now with this, we're going to say if it is not equal to me, there's an issue with it. And we don't want to keep data in a database whereby we could not publish it out there. Okay, else there's going to be an inconsistency. So we want to make sure whatever thing that we have, a copy should be out there. People can view it and see it and access it. So in case it isn't, then kindly go in there and revert it. So how do you revert it? Let's get the last product. So get last product. How do we get it? We're going to say that there's a last product, and we can have a look from it. Product that we have as a list dot last. So this method is going to retrieve the last one that we just added, and after that, please go ahead and remove the last product. So go ahead and remove last products. Okay, so that's going to be product dot remove, and I'll specify the last product. So we are making our system to resilient and robust as well. All right, so that's what we need in here for the adding of product. Now let's go to the next one, that's the delete. So if I delete it, I want to put the ID out there that, hey, I've made these changes. So there's no more place, there's an ID. You should do the same to yours. So let's say there's a product dot remove. Then we're going to say the same product again dot. We can use first or default, and in that we can specify the ID, so whereby this ID is equal to this ID coming in. So that is what we want to do here. And after we are done removing this, maybe let's see if, yeah. After we are done removing this, we want to make it available to the outside world. So we're going to say producer.publish. And now here, is it produce async or publish async? So that's it, produce, and I give it a topic. So delete product topic. And now let's specify the same thing. So that's a new message which takes in dictionary now, and we need to provide the value. This value is equal to this ID. Since it's a form of string, we need not to serialize this because it's already in a string form. So we're going to say it's an integer, convert to string, and that is all. Quite simple. Okay. All right, so this is what we need to do. Let's save this peacefully, and that is it. So after we are done with the service, what else, or what is the next thing do you think we're going to be doing? Well, we need to inject this, but before, I want to extract this service into the same folder. I don't want to keep it here, so move to product-service.cs file. Right, so now let's go and register this. We can do that in here by doing builder.service. We can add it as scope or singleton. So I product service. Then let's say this is product service. Yeah, so after you are done registering this, let's go ahead and create our controller. For controller, creating is quite simple. We need only two endpoints, and I believe we can do that, isn't it? Go ahead and do it. So in here, let's modify our weather forecast component that we have in here. Let's make it as product. Yes. Now this product, let's remove all this. So product controller, it did not change, so let me manually do that. Product, and within this, let's remove the default one so we can create our own. We want to have the first thing is an HTTP post. Now with this post, now with this is going to be a public action results, because yeah, it's going to be an async, because our service is an async. So let's make it an async task. Let's use an action results and interface generic one, and then that we're going to say add product. Let's specify the payload, and that is what product. Good. Let's use the reference, and in here we're going to say that await. We need to inject our service. So there's an I product service, and we say this is our product service. So we can grab this product service, which has all the APIs. So .add product, then specify the product. You know, this returns a task, so there's no response. So we can say that manually, please return no content when everything is set. It could be created. Okay, so return created. It is also there. Now let's go to the next one. That is a delete, which takes in an ID. So HTTP, we pass in delete. It takes in an ID. So we want to make sure that this ID is an integer. Well, I know you would never type in anything, but well, let's make sure it is. So it's going to be a public and async, passing the task, and let's have a generic interface, action results, and that is delete product. As the name goes, we need to pass in an ID, isn't it? Now this ID must match with the parameter ID. So in that, let's specify an await. That's our product service that we have. Delete product. It takes an ID, so kindly pass in the ID. After that, what do you want to do? Return no content, because as it is done, kindly return this. We are done with our producer. Now the last thing that we need to do for this is to register this. No, our Kafka is running on 9092. That is for the broker. When you check our console, this is a console Docker desktop. You know, we have a broker running on 9092. That's where we need to connect to. For us to access it, it is a 9021. That is our control center. So we're not making an endpoint call to this control center. No, it's not going to accept it. It needs a 9092. So that is why keep this in mind, and let's go and register that in the program file. So go to the pro.api program file, and in here let's do the magic. So on top here, let's create our config. I'm going to say config is equal to new, passing the producer config. So producer config coming from the Kafka, and with the producer config, we need to specify. There are a lot of properties in here. Well, we need only. Have you seen this one? Bootstrap servers. That is what we need. Okay, to connect to our. So that's our local host, and the port here is a 9092. Do you remember? Great. Let's close that. Now the configuration that we have in here, let's go in there and now use it. So we're going to have beta.services.add is a singleton. Now with this singleton, it takes in an iProducer interface. This producer takes in a dictionary of what? A key and a value. It is null. As you know, we are not specifying any key for this. So, and the value is going to be string. That's going to be the return type. And in here, we are saying that let's specify sections. I'm going to say this max to new producer builder. So producer builder. Builder also takes in a dictionary of a key and a value. As we did to Peter, same thing to Paul. So now and our string. Let me put this on a new line so you can see everything. Now with this config, after we are done with this, the last thing to do here is to build it. If you don't build, you're going to have an issue. So .build. And that is all. Great. Now this is going to send. So let's make sure this is active, right? You can see from our topic, we don't have any manually created topic. We have all these are default topic created for the Bootstrap. Now we want to run this, so let's make sure we choose the product API. But before that, let's make sure we build this first to see whether there's no issue. And in case there is no issue, then we're going to run it. As soon as we add product, we must see a topic created as add product topic. As soon as we delete product, we must see a topic known as delete product topic. So you must see it in there. Yeah, so build has seeded. Now all that we're going to do next is to run this project. So we're going to check. Let me open this widely so you and I can see what's going to come in. Currently, if I refresh this, you know what is happening. Nothing much, right? We have the same. Yeah, we know this. You are not on the latest control center, as I told you, because you're using the version of 6 point something, whereby we have, I think, 7. So that's the reason why. But never mind, this is still going to work. Okay, maybe the interface has a little bit changed, but the content is the same. The function is still the same. Okay, so let's see, is our API up and running? All right, so that is active in here. Let me actually make it a little bit. Yes. Let's go and add product. So as we add, make sure you check up here. So we add a new product. And for the ID, since you need to create an ID of 1, we're going to say this is HP. Let's say this is desktop computer. The price here, I don't actually know the price, but let's pass in any price at all. Let's click on execute this. As soon as we receive created, it tells you that, well, it is done. Let's wait and check it up. Oh, okay, 204, great. Created, it is done. Now come back to this. You can see we are not having anything here, isn't it? But don't worry, let's try it. Let's refresh. Whoa, nice one. You see this? So you can see we have an add product topic. The availability is 1. If I click on this, what else can we see? Go down here. It is available. That is the status. And here you can see we have placement of what? Leader is 1. So currently, if I go to this side, you see we have the end is what? 2, and that is the size. Currently, we have only one product waiting for a consumer. Well, let's try and see whether when we add another one, it will be added to move up to 2. Let's add this. Yeah, no more HP, or maybe let's make it as a laptop. Okay, the same price because laptops are powerful. So we have this added. Let's add one more. We can do 3, and well, we can also change this to there. Let's reduce the price. Click on execute. So we have 3 products added. Now we have one end, right? We have 2. Whoa, just updated now. 2. We added 3. Maybe unless we refresh this, you're not going to see the exact amount. So let's see, we have the exact number from our add product topic. Go down again. Check it out. Well, yeah, we have it. We have the 3 in here. So it tells us that there's an awaiting list. Just this awaiting for a consumer to consume this 3. So now that this is working, we have our this. If I click on delete 2, let's see whether this is going to work. So we have product ID of 1. We're going to remove it. After removing it, it needs to publish it. Let's see whether they're going to have no content. When it does that, then it tells us that we're going to have it. So from that topics, yeah, we have delete product. It takes, because we have 1 in here. If I click on this, down, then we have the size, and the end is 1. Good, so this is working. How do you consume this? That is our next target. Let's see how we can do that. So in our other API, let's first have our models created. In our other API, first you're going to make an order, and after making an order, we want to get an order summary, because the core motive here is after product has been added, we want to listen and now get a copy and keep it. So if I want to get an order summary whereby I need the product information, I need not to be calling the API synchronously for that data. I have it already because I listened when it was making an update or addition. So I got it and I have it. Let's see. So let's create a class in here. Now with this class, let's name this as order. Now every order has a product ID. So let's make this as public. Now this order has a product ID. And it has, there's an order ID, and that is a product ID. So the product that you're going to select, you're going to pass in the ID. The next one is the quantity that you want to order. Okay, let's create a service to handle this. So let's go to solution. Now in an order, we can close the product since we are done. Let's go to other API. Let's add folder to this. And now before this will work, unless we shut this down, this is going to be product. Whoa, other services. Right. So other services. Let's have our interface and slide implementation on this. So I order service. Now with this I order service, what do you think some of the interfaces that is going to handle? Actually, we need, I think, 3 or 4 interfaces. Okay, so let's see. The first one going to be a task, and on this task, I'm going to say start consuming product. Start consuming or consume add product. Okay, so I'm going to say this is start consuming. Start consuming. So start consuming service, and as the name implies, it's going to start consuming, and that is a task that you're going to call. The next task here is going to be void, and now with this void, it is an add order. So user can make an order, and which takes in a payload of order with an instance of order. We need to include the reference. Let's see if we can also add. No, we don't have access to the reference. That's a package. So let's right click on dependencies, add project references, then make sure you get in the shared and boom, that is it. Now control period, we must have the here. So that is this one. The next thing that I'm going to do here is we want to get products. We adding this so we can see that as soon as we listen and we grab the copy and it added, now our product list has changed. So let's have, there's a list of products, and we're going to say this is get product. And the last one, we have list of. Before we can continue with the of, we need to create this other summary. So let's add a class, and now we're going to be an order summary. Now this order summary, what are some of the properties that are you looking up to see? Let's make this public first. We want to see the order ID, isn't it? So that's an integer of an order ID. We want to see product ID. We also want to see the product name. Then we want to see the product price, which is decimal. So after this, we want to also see ordered quantity, which is integer, so ordered quantity. Then the last one, we want to see total amount. That is going to be decimal. And now we have the total amount. Now with this, we want to check it up here. Since we have the values for some of the properties, we want to say order quantity multiplied by the total amount, not the product price. Yeah, so we have the value set already. Great, so this is our order summary. Now let's go to our interface again and continue with our magic. So with this, we're going to say that list of order summary, and we're going to say get order summary. Okay, so let's implement this. Down here is a public, it's a class, order service, order service, implement the interface. Okay, now with this, what can we do? Let's inject the consumer as well. Since we're going to consume it, we're doing the same thing as we did in the producer. So consumer, which takes in, that is a null, because when producing, we set only the value. So you want to say this is string, and I will say this consumer. So grab this. Now, in order for us to subscribe to these topics, let's have our private constant string, and that is an add product topic. So add product topic. Now this should match exactly with the topic that you have. Let's create an instance, and this is not add. Guess what? Great, delete. So delete product topic. So once you have this, the next thing we're going to do here is let's create a static or a variable to handle our product and others. So this is going to be public, that is a list of products. Let me say products. We're going to be doing same order and others. Okay, so now that we have all these sets, what are we going to do next? Consume. Let's start with this. No, start consuming. Let's put it on top. since that will be the first thing to work on or to start with, let's have, in order for us to have an await here, maybe it's a task, so maybe we can have await task.delay. We can delay for 10 milliseconds. After we relax for a while, let's have consume. So that's our consumer dot subscribe. Now this subscribe, now we are having two topics. So how do you subscribe to these two topics? It's quite simple. We can specify new, then in here let's add product topic and delete product topic. Okay, so maybe we can modify this, use collection to make it simple. Now we need to loop through, because here we are not going to quit. After you subscribe, we need to keep on subscribing because you're going to be listening. So we're going to say while through, then we keep on going. Let's have our response. Now this response is coming from after we are done consuming. You can pass in cancellation token if you want to stop it, but well, that's not the aim here. So we are saying that now this is going to return a message. This message has a value. Now this value could be empty, it could be null. So you want to check that in case string here it is not null or empty, talking about which one, the responses has a message, and talking about its value. In case this is not null, that is only when I want to do this. Now here let's check if the topic here is equal to add product topic. You see this? So we're going to say that if this response coming in dot has a topic in there is equal to add product topic, it tells you that here a new addition of product has been added. Then please, what can we do? We're going to extract it from here, and since it's in the form of a string, we're going to JSON deserialize it. So JSON serializer dot deserialize it. Let's specify the object of product and specify the string content, and that is a response dot message dot value. Okay, so that is what we need to do to deserialize this. After we have this object, we're going to say this is a product dot add. Whoa. So product dot add, then add this product. This is quite simple, isn't it? So with this we can check for null, although it won't be null, but here we need to check it up. Else what can we do? So we can say in case you have multiple topics, that's where you use an else if. But since you have only 2 topics, if not A, then it is B automatically. So we can go ahead and forget about that and say that in case it is delete, then we're going to have a look at this. I'm going to say product that we have in here dot remove, and what I'm going to remove, we're going to remove the exact product dot first or default, and now we specify the p max2 p.id, which is equal to the response coming in dot message dot value. But you know, this value here is going to be string, so we cannot compare integer to string. So what do you think would be the best idea to handle that? Great, I learned you saying that, well, why didn't you convert into integer? Absolutely, that is exactly what you need to do. So say end.pass, and now pass this in there, and great, it's amazing work. We're done with that. Close it, then put it next line. Okay, so we are done here. Now let's create a method, because after we consume this and we keep consuming, still consuming, we want to display, we want to see something. Okay, a nice UI maybe in the console. So let's have a simple method to handle that. And whether it is an add product topic or it is delete product topic, we still want to call this. So it's better that you put it down here. Let's say I'll give it a name as console product. It means display product. Don't be scared. Okay, so down here, let's go ahead and now put this method, which is going to be private, and it is void because it's going to return anything. It's just going to do whatever that I want to do, and that is it. So console product, and now with this, since we have the product list open or public here, we can go ahead and now grab it and digest it here. So we're going to say that first of all, in case you have something in the console, kindly clear it for me. After clearing, then go ahead and I'll loop through this. So use the for each. So for each, I'm going to say this is an item in product. Okay, this is a product list that we have in here. Then console.writeLine. So write line. In there, let's use the string interpolation so we can customize it to suit what you want. This is an ID, and here we are using this item.id. And the next thing is comma. Let's say this is name, and we are using item.name. The last one is a quantity. So quantity, and we are having an item dot quantity. So item dot quantity. We don't have quantity, we have name and price, right? So we have ID, name, and price. So this should be price instead of name. Quantity, sorry. I know you've done that change. Okay. And that is all. So we are done with our subscription and also console. That is what's going to happen. This is going to start first. Then what of the next one? We have add order, we have get order summary, and get product. Can you do that? I believe that you can do it. So I give you some few minutes to handle that. But let's do this one as it is the simplest among all. Okay. So here, since we have the product list out there, we can say return this product. That is all. So do the next. I'll give you a few minutes to handle that. So are you done? Were you able to do it? So let's say this is quite simple. When you check the other API, not the API, that's an other service, that's the interface here. Since we have the list already set on top, we can just even use a lambda expression in here. We can say that the others that we have dot add. Now let's pass in the order we have here. So let's go and get the list. With this, let's have order summary. So let's say order summary. We're going to create a list of this. Then we're going to say let's loop through the orders that we have. So var order and orders. We're going to say this order summary dot add. So we have this should be new. So dot add, and now with this we are specifying new order summary, and we need an order ID. Let's first have order ID. I think we missed that. Okay, we forgot the R. So order ID is equal to, we have this order.id. Then we have product ID that is equal to this product. We can have it from order.product ID. Then we have the product name. So product name, we can get it from the product list that we have. So products, we can use first or default and specify the product.id, which is equal to the order.product ID. and in that we can grab the name. Let's make a duplicate here to get the price. So product price, and with this get the price. And last one, we're going to have access to the product quantity. And now we're going for an ordered quantity, and it is coming from this order dot quantity. That is all we need to do. So after that, you want to return order summary. Okay, so now that we are done with our service, what is the next thing that we need to do? Let's go to our controller and create simple order service or order controller. So that is order controller. Let's make sure we remove all this. Inject the service that we have created. So I order service, then order service. Let's remove the default one. So this is what we need. There's going to be an HTTP GET, and let's say this is start service. So starts consuming service. This is going to loop with no end, since it's going to be waiting for a service or an action to be called or event to happen in the Kafka. So we're going to say that is a public async task, which takes in a generic of I action results. So start service. Now this start service, we're going to have await this other service dot start consuming service. After that, let's return no content, because we are not returning anything, we are just consuming service. So returning no content is the best action result that we can return. Let's have the next one, and that is an HTTP GET, and maybe let's say this is get product. Although we are not in the product API, but we can still get product because of how we've made it. So get product, which takes in a public I action result, and I will say get product. And now with this, we can say product. We have an order service that gets products and return okay with the product that we have. Now the next thing that we're going to have a look on is, so get products, yes, okay, then we get our other service, then we need to return this product. Let's make this as S. Now the last one here, it is an add. Okay, last but not the last one. Okay, so we have our that is post. Now post here is, let's say this is add product. Now under add product, it is going to be an action results. So add order. Well, it's supposed to be an order, not product, because here we are going to add order, which takes in order model with an instance, and in here we're going to say this order service dot add order. We pass in this order. It returns now, so we need not to specify anything here. There's an order. Let's close this and now return the action of created. Okay, so let's say there's an order place. Okay, if created doesn't take in, we can make it as an okay. Then the last one is get the other summary. So this is HTTP get, and that is our other summary. So within this is also an task. I action results and get other summary, and we can return an OK. That is other service dot get summary. So now we have our controller set. Let's also go in there and register this. So in our consumer or other API program.cs file, let's go in first. Let's register our other service. And now let's say this is I other service. Then other service. After registration of this, let's also connect to the our Kafka. We need to specify our group ID and also the server and auto offset reset. We set these properties and that is all. So we say this is a var config is equal to new. Then we have a consumer config. Now this consumer config, we need group ID. Now this group ID, let's add product. Add products consumer group. Also let's have our bootstrap service, and that is still the same, localhost. And the port is 9092. I believe you still remember. And we have the last one, auto offset reset. Let's set this to earliest. Okay, now let's connect. So we're gonna say builder.services.add singleton, and here we need to specify I consumer, and in that should be null with the key with the value of string. And let's specify new consumer builder. New consumer builder. Now with this builder, we need to specify the same thing as null and our string as a key. Let me put this new line. Then we need to build that. So here, after that, let's specify the config that we have created. Then we say dot build, and that is all. We're done. Now let's test it up. So let's save this. Let's make sure we build the project, making sure everything is set. Checking if this is also running, and yes, it is still running. When we check our topics, we still have these two topics. Add product, which has the end of three products here waiting, and delete also happening. Now let's run this and check it out. Let's see if the building is still, it's not done. Go to output. Okay, so let's wait. All right, so that is set. Now let's go and run our API. So when we run this, we're going to put a stop, maybe breakpoint here, where we're going to consume the service. So this is a method. So let's put it here. That's what we need. Now let's wait for this to kickstart and check it out. Oh, okay. So our product API is running. That's our producer. Now let's also run our other API. So debug and start new instance. So let's make sure our console is also active. That is our other API, because you're going to be seeing stuff here. When we consume data, we're going to be seeing it here. Alright, so you can see we have it set and our API is running. So let's click on this. Now we're going to start. We make sure this is our console. Now let's click on, try this out. Now execute this. So we are starting. And as soon as it gets connected, we have our breakpoint here. It is hit. Click on next. Now we delay for some seconds. Then we're going to subscribe. So since you have this created already, if I click on consumer, it has this delayed product topic, right? Let's check it again. So it has subscription is 2. Click on this subscription because you have an add product topic and delete product topic. Great. Now click on next. Now let's see which one has it. Okay. So if I click on response, check it out. It has value of what? Product ID of 1, name, meaning, and add product topic. So it's going to continue on. Then in case this is not null, and checking if product topic, if the topic is equal to this, then it's going to add that. Let's check the UI and see. So you can see that the 2 data or the 2 record that we added has been retrieved in here. That is the beautiful of this Kafka. You can see the product was lying there waiting for us. As soon as we got connected, now we have it in here. Okay, let's launch or let's go to our want to say our product API. Now here we're going to add. As soon as we add it, check it out from here that we're going to see it. So we're going to add. We have an ID of 2, 3. We're going to add 4th one. So newly added product. Price, random price. Click on execute, and we should have it displayed here. Yeah, we have it. So you can see this are different 2 separate APIs. We have a producer and a consumer. We have it. Let's try one more. 5. And let's say this is my personal gadget. So I have my personal. Then click on execute. We have it here, isn't it? Now we're going to delete it, and let's see if it's going to reflect. Then try this out. You want to delete the ID of 2. Execute. Yes, it is gone. Let's delete the ID of 3. It is gone. ID of 4. It is gone. ID of 5. It is also gone. So you can see that we have been able to integrate this Kafka, Apache Kafka, as a message broker to communicate between a consumer and a producer. So in a real world scenario, that is how you have to implement it in order to make your services independent. So congratulations on completing the course on asynchronous communication between microservices in .NET 8 using Apache Kafka. By now, you should have a solid understanding of how Apache Kafka works, why it is such a game changer for real-time data streaming, and how it differs from other message brokers like RabbitMQ. So remember, it is not about choosing RabbitMQ or Kafka. It's about choosing the right tool for the right job. Kafka is your go-to for high throughput, distributed, event-driven systems, whilst RabbitMQ excels in reliable point-to-point messaging. Now that you are equipped with the knowledge and skills to implement Kafka in your project, you are ready to take your microservices to the next level. I hope this course has been insightful and valuable. Don't forget to subscribe, Like and share if you found this helpful, and keep an eye out for more deep dives into microservices and .NET as a whole. Thank you for watching this, and I'm going to catch up in the next video. Till then, take care.